Alright, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? I have the game sounds enabled this time. I'm sorry about that, but here we go. We're gonna be starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, where all of the action is gonna be happening. You know what? I'm gonna introduce both of the players at the same time. It's Drunkenboi and Caliber. With another photon cannon rush happening right now. Pylons going up. Caliber already getting one of his pylons fully surrounded. Oh, Drunkenboi pulls back at the last second to try and take out the probe, but not quite able to make it happen. A bunker is already going up though, and oh my god, the photon cannon finishes completely. And there's so many pylons up in the high ground. I think this is working out quite well. We may very well be seeing the first successful cannon rush against a Terran player for Caliber today. Both of the probes still alive. He's got two of them, and oh man, if he even plants down one more photon cannon over here, can delay additional work or marine production, just because the photon cannon will be killing off any marines that get too far or that are produced, and also be able to whittle away at that barracks. One of the probes getting so low on health, and these photon cannons are going to be dealing a lot of damage, and somehow it looks like one of the probes does get sniped off, but we have so many more cannons going down on top of this bunker that these SCVs are going to get focus fired down. This may very well be a successful cannon rush. I don't think there's anything that Drunkenboi can do at this point. He's got another barracks back over here that he's going to be able to reduce more marines out of. He's trying to focus fire down the photon cannons, so he's down to just 9 workers, going to continue to lose more. Down to 8 pretty soon as the photon cannons are focus firing him down. That's gotta be it. There's no way you can come back from this. He can't even escape out of here. He'll lose too many SCVs in the process. Repair coming down with all the remaining minerals he's got left, but is it enough? He's down to 6 workers. Marine adding in a little bit of DPS. He will be able to clean up the photon cannons, and the probes have been both picked off. But behind this, 19 workers around for Slayer's Boner. And he's got up his gateway. He's taken both of his gas geysers. I don't know if Drunkenboi can equalize or recover from this kind of economic damage done by the very quick cannon rush. Oh boy. Well, Tech Lab is going to be coming out. I wonder, what is he going to try and do? Is he just going to try and go for like an all barracks, you know, maybe throw down 1 additional barracks and go for 3 racks? Try and build, get up a fast stim upgrade and just push across the map with nothing but masses of marines and try and kill his opponent? That could very well be his best option. He sees that there's no natural expansion taken just yet. And hey, I mean, okay, well, I mean, continuing to mine more and more gas is interesting. He is gonna have the potential to maybe get up some marauders because of it, but I would really maybe even just like to see additional SCVs being put onto minerals, or at least only have 1 SCV on gas. I think something like that may make sense, but he may just have a totally different game plan than what I'm envisioning. Stam is going to be coming up. He's going to continue to produce as many marines as he can, 3 at a time, which is a decent enough number, and he still does have mules. They're going to help out quite a bit with his income. You can see in terms of mineral income, he is behind, but he's behind by like 300 minerals per minute. That is a pretty big deal. Alright, well, Caliber moves down to his natural expansion, getting ready to potentially secure it. He's also adding on a couple of extra gateways, so he knows 4 gateways. He's going to play this very cautiously because he does not want this to completely backfire on him, where he tries to take a natural expansion and just dies to a big counter push. He has a single Stalker and a single Zealot. Is he really just going to follow this up with a big push out? Not just like a defensive 4-gate? This could end up backfiring on him, especially if he has to use up energy on the recall. Drunkenboi moving around with the SCV doesn't catch a glimpse of the Stalker and the Zealot that were moving around. That is going to definitely cost him. Oh no, Tech Lab with Stim being researched is going to be vulnerable right now. If Caliber decides to focus fire it down with all 4 of these units, it could cause a lot of problems. Marines are going to be coming to the mix though, and they should be able to force things back. Stalkers are going to be able to try and get that final supply depot right before it's able to be repaired. And these Marines are going to be taking a lot of chip damage. I don't think he's going to be able to continuously rebuild that supply depot effectively. He's already on such a low economy. Oh, big stim comes out. He is going to be able to take out the Mudjacore, may even be able to take out a Zealot, and that will be a really, really nice win. Drunkenboi stims up his entire army though, and he does not have medevacs coming out anytime for at least another 30 or 40 seconds. Proxy gateway coming down. This is the 5th gateway for Caliber, and Warp Gate technology is just finished up. This entire army has already stimmed up once. If we have to stim up again, it's going to be costly for Drunkenboi. But still, Caliber has not taken a natural expansion. He has not continued to produce additional workers. He's sitting on just 23. And that does make me think that Drunkenboi has got a shot. With a Widow Mine in the mix, imagine if there's another couple Widow Mines that are able to get a couple of good shots off on a large clump of the Stalkers or Adepts that are warped in. This could instantaneously go heavily in Drunkenboi's favor. Because Caliber's committed to winning the game right here. Well, you know, I say committed to winning the game right here, but it's not necessarily because of his economy is going to be so much worse, but it's the fact that he doesn't have tech behind this. Looks like Twilight Council was researching Blink, so it's going to be a pure Blink Stalker attack. He does have an option to deal with some of these Widow Mines, but he needs to make sure he's reacting very, very quickly. He cannot afford to take too much damage. Whoa, okay, we have a medevac drop coming out. Pylon, or the probe, gets taken out as 2 of these pylons are going out. There is a mothership core making its way across the map. Almost there, is going to have enough energy for exactly 2 photon overcharges. Widow Mine goes off, but does not connect with anything whatsoever. And it looks like photon overcharge is going to be a big concern over here to knock down the supply depot as well as one of the barracks. Marauder is trying to be made, but I don't even know if that Marauder is going to end up finishing, as the photon overcharge does go off. And Drunkenboi may even want to start thinking about throwing down some bunkers over closer to his mineral line. Widow Mines are going to be off a cooldown pretty soon. We'll see if Caliber is paying attention, if he's going to react in time and make sure that he doesn't end up taking a lot of damage on his Stalkers, ends up losing one of them and loses some shields on some of the other ones. A Marauder pops out. The SCVs are being pulled. 14 workers have gone down because that drop on the other side of the map is doing an insane amount of damage. And I think that Drunkenboi can just pull back now. He's got the Widow Mine off of cooldown once again, or at least one of them, so it's going to prevent Caliber from utilizing Blink to blink back his Stalkers. Oh, one of the warp-ins does get canceled as well because the Widow Mine takes it out. Another big Widow Mine shot, and Drunkenboi is starting to make this look like a holdable position. Another Widow Mine is about to go off, and it might end up hitting some of the SCVs. Oh, not the best shot, but it still works out quite well for him. Drunkenboi taking game number 2. Did I have the series score wrong? Caliber took that last game. It was 1-1, so this is now 2-1 in favor of Drunkenboi. I do apologize for that, as that game did kick off fairly quickly with the shenanigans. So it is now 2-1 in favor of Drunkenboi. Drunkenboi able to take game number 1 and game number 3, I believe. Let me just double check this. I'm not going crazy. No, that was Frozen Temple. No, sorry, I was thinking, okay, yeah, the score was correct. It is now just 2-0. For some reason, I thought this was a successful cannon rush. He won the game with a cannon rush, but that was the same game. Drunkenboi bounced back from that. That was really impressively done. And now we're going to be hopping on to the next map, Galactic Protocol, which I will annoy Avex incessantly by calling it Galactic Process. Oh, sorry, wait, it is Galactic Process. Oh my god, I tried too hard to troll Avex and I end up just trolling myself. That's one of those congratulations, you played yourself moments. All right. You know, it's funny because you just keep hearing people say Galactic. All people say is Galactic. And because of that, that's all I really see. And I sometimes make assumptions about what the rest of the name is. I apologize, Avex. You deserve an apology for that one. All right. Looks like the players are in the lobby. Galactic Process is going to be the next map. Drunkenboi is 1 game away from taking total and complete victory over his opponent in qualifying for the 2nd stage of the DreamHack Montreal Summer Championship Series qualifiers for the North American server. Alright, looks like we're ready. We're hopping into it. I do not have a map intro for this one, so we are just going to be talking a little bit again about that last game, because that game, that was probably one of the best shots that Caliber had, because that cannon rush went so unbelievably well, but the follow-up just didn't seem to work out. And I wonder what would have been a better option if he had just instead gone for the faster natural expansion, but then he may have just died to a big counter swing of Stim Barracks Marine push. I don't know, it's a hard call to make, but regardless, we're hopping into it. Game number 2, these players know much better than I do. Or sorry, game number 3, these players definitely know much better than I do, apparently. We're going to be hopping into it. Starting up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, the red Terran player from Flipside Tactics that is sitting up 2-0. Man, I'm just messing up all the production now today. We have Flipside Tactics' very own Drunkenboi. And his opponent spun down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, the pink Protoss player that's already sent an early probe out. Give it up for Slayer's Boner, aka Caliber. And is that probe going to be for a forge? Or is it going to do some sort of weird fake out? Yeah, he's already forcing Drunkenboi pull multiple SCVs. He's got him paranoid. He may even just go for the Nexus first. He's got 17 workers out already. He's building up those minerals. I think this is going to be a Nexus first. He's even planted on the pylon, just scaring Drunkenboi, because Drunkenboi is not going for the initial scout out. In fact, he hasn't moved out at all. He's just going to try and force Drunkenboi into the most awkward position possible. And all he has to do is throw down one pylon. That's all he has to do. Now he's just going to continue to harass. And all of these SCVs are going to be, there we go. All of these SCVs are going to not be mining, and he's definitely lost more than 100 minerals worth of mining. This is absolutely worth it for Caliber. Now, it is still worth noting, though, that Drunkenboi is going for a Reaper opening. And Reaper openings versus a Nexus first on a map that only has 2 spawns can definitely play very much against a Protoss player, because it takes a lot longer to get out that Mothership Core or a Stalker or some form of anti-Reaper defense that can actually keep up with the Reaper. Something that has an ranged attack. Unfortunately, a Zealot really just won't do the trick over here. Double gas was taken, and yeah, there's going to be a Cybernetics Core coming out immediately after this gateway, but Reaper is already out, and if it made its way straight across the map, as Caliber is going to see that Reaper, and it should now be able to make its way straight across the map. SCV even over here and sees that it was a Nexus first, so he should not delay anymore and just immediately utilize that Reaper. Do not look for proxies, do not look for weird shenanigans. Just try and get the damage done as soon as you can, because Cybernetics Core is only going to be just barely finishing up. He's going to have a solid 20 to 30 seconds where he can just go completely free reign on the damage. Already going to be able to focus fire down one of the probes. Zealot does pop out, is going to be able to get a bit of damage done, and there's not a lot of room behind the mineral lines. I really like the walling in over here behind the mineral line to make sure the Reaper doesn't have as much room to maneuver around. He also doesn't want to go too far deeply into the mineral line, because if he does, then suddenly, oh, there's this awkward potential for the probes to surround. Just like that, 2 workers killed. Not bad, but not amazing. I think that he probably could have gotten a little bit more damage done. Like 1 more worker killed and probably gotten out of there. Well, unfortunately, that is the way that things go. He would have loved to have seen the additional tech pop out, as well as Caliber throwing down that Twilight Council now. That would have made him susceptible to, say, something like a Widowmine drop. Widowmine is a bit supply blocked. I guess the command center is finishing up, so that's what he's going to be waiting on, as well as another supply depot getting started. But it seems like it is going to be a fairly fast Widowmine drop, and if there's no robotic facility coming out from Caliber, this could work out really, really well for Drunkenboi. Just in terms of the build order, he's not going to have detection, and he might have blink again, but there's going to be the robo. So this is honestly one of the more standard plays that Caliber has ever done in PvT today. This is probably the most standard looking-ish build that he's done. It had a weird mind game at the beginning with the proxy pylon faking out a cannon rush and going for a Nexus first, but the follow-up is Blink Stalkers, getting up a robo to get up an observer, likely going to just add on a couple of gateways, put on a bit of pressure, use the Blink Stalkers to deal with Liberator harassment or Widowmine drops, or just drops in general. And this really does look like the most normal play we've seen out of him. I'm interested to see how that's going to fare, because, again, if we haven't seen it, we don't know how strong and confident he feels about it. Caliber is definitely one of these sort of weirder players out there in terms of playstyle. And Drunkenboi is one of the more aggressive players who's going to put you to the limit and make sure you feel very comfortable with that sort of standard defense. As you can already see, he's moving out with a kind of interesting number of units. He does have enough Marines that cannot just be loaded up into a single medevac, so he may end up using the medevac to load up a handful of them, move over to the main base, and just put pressure on both fronts at the same time, just to make sure that Caliber is being honest with himself. But he's definitely going to end up losing some of these Marines, most likely, especially with Blink getting close to finishing up. Warp Gate technology is close to finishing up as well. Pylon getting focus fire down. It may not be Photon overcharged at all, because guess what? The Mothership Core isn't even over at the natural expansion right now. There it finally comes on in, and he does depower one of the warp gates, kills off another one of the pylons, although it is canceled. 2 more pylons going up behind us. Mothership Core is getting focus fire down, as is that medevac, and the medevac is going to be able to survive, but the Mothership Core does not. A nice trade out for Drunkenboi, even killing off 6 workers at the same time. Really, really well done for Drunkenboi. And I want to note, this wasn't a super fast tech up to Starport like it was in some of the previous games. This was a fast natural expansion. This was a push that was made to do little bits of damage, and it got a lot of damage done. Now Drunkenboi also has a 3rd expansion behind all of this. Has stim and combat shields coming up, has a more of these barracks coming up, and I feel like Drunkenboi is sitting in a very, very nice position. The big scare is that Caliber is one of those players that you just cannot leave alone for too long, because if you leave him alone, he will find a way to just get up this maddening composition of maybe Colossus with Tempest in the mix, or Disruptors potentially in the mix, with a bunch of the Phoenix in the air, and just weird compositions that you're not used to fighting against. And if you aren't prepared for it, if you aren't constantly being aggressive, keeping an eye on your opponent, he will take you by surprise, and he will dismantle your army in an instant. Robotics Bay is going up fairly quickly, and we'll wait and see what exactly the composition is going to be for Caliber. Is he going to go for the Disruptors? Is he going to go for the Colossus again? Colossus it is. And this is the same map that we saw versus Juggernaut Jason, where he went for those Colossus. Stalkers are going to be moving out across the map, and this again was one of the maps that I want to note Caliber won on. And that style worked out rather well. The difference again being that I think Drunkenboi is a more aggressive player by nature than Juggernaut Jason. So I'm expecting him to put on a bit more pressure and try and capitalize on the moments of potential weakness that Caliber may have when he's playing a bit of a greedy style. But no, we're starting to see Disruptor now being made. So I think he canceled the Colossus and opted to make a Disruptor. So maybe reconsidering after spotting something out. I'm not sure what he would have seen. He does have an observer at the front, and he sees some of those Widow Mines. So maybe that is part of the reasoning. He doesn't want to have to deal with the Widow Mines with no detection. So he says at least Disruptors can kill off Widow Mines if I don't have any observers or if they get picked off. Colossus don't really have that capabilities unless the Bioforce or something is standing directly on top of a Widow Mine. But Observer's going to spot this move out from Drunkenboi, as well as the couple of Widow Mines in the mix. We'll see how many units he morphs in and how good these Disruptor shots are going to be. He is getting out an Observer, as well as that second Disruptor popping out right now. These rocks are going to be a pretty safe location for now, as Drunkenboi's saying, you know, let's move into the normal natural expansion front. There's no sentries or anything, so he should be able to easily retreat back if he needs to. The Widow Mines already burrow in a pretty nice spot. Unfortunately for him, though, they are going to be immediately taken out by those Disruptor shots. And this is, again, may have been that reason why he did that reconsideration. Oh, he's taking out a lot of the pylons, taking out the robotics facility. That's a really nice pickup. In fact, Drunkenboi, I wonder if he can just back off on that. He already has a third command center finished up. Does he really need to push in any further? Scanning, killing out both the observers. Disruptors fire off their shots, and one of the medevacs goes down that has some of the units in it, but Drunkenboi makes it out of there with the rest of them. Third command center, or third nexus is finished up for Caliber, and Drunkenboi could maybe put some more pressure on over there, but there are Blink Stalkers out, so he has to be very careful about this. I do just wonder if taking out the robotic facility and delaying the tech production for Caliber is going to be enough for maybe Drunkenboi to just put on drop harassment instead of heavy harassment at the front door. Otherwise, he's going to risk this. As the Stalkers blink down to the low ground, the medevacs just hightail it out of there. No pickups, no safety for those units as they are left to die. Only 2 of the medevacs actually ended up making it out of there, as I think there were 3 around before. Widow Mine gets a couple of more damage, a little bit more damage done as he kills off one more Stalker, but does get taken out. And a really weird, interesting series of trades. Drunkenboi also in this game, comparative to the series of Caliber versus Juggernaut Jason, Drunkenboi is down in upgrades, whereas I believe in the series of Caliber versus Juggernaut Jason, Juggernaut Jason was really far ahead in upgrades. In fact, Caliber seemed like he was not really worrying about them at all. But this game, he did go for 1-1. He got that up. He's getting up his double Stargate now. And this is, I think, the really, really important moment where Drunkenboi does need to do something pretty soon before the Tempests start coming out. Because if those Tempests start coming out, these Liberators are going to have a very difficult time. Even the Widow Mines will start having a difficult time as they get picked away from afar. Rocks are going to start to go down as the scan comes down, and Caliber may be trying to ambush this army at an awkward angle, and I think it's going to work out quite well. Big disruptor shots going off, and Drunkenboi immediately retreats on out, and a couple of disruptor shots have to be utilized on the Widow Mines themselves. The rocks do get knocked down, and hey, maybe there's an opportunity for Drunkenboi to stim and move straight into the third expansion. He is going for it, but no, has to pull back. He doesn't feel super confident about this. Liberators sieging up are nice, but is this Liberator count really enough to deal with this Stalker count? In fact, I'm a little bit worried that these Liberators are so bare bones by themselves. Caliber just doesn't realize that the army is not with the Liberators. In fact, the army catches Caliber a bit by surprise, and the Liberators kind of act as a, no, I swear, I'm overprotecting my Liberators. Believe me, just keep your army down over by your third. And this little juke or a bait and jive over there. But now he's going to have a much harder time. He stims forward once again, but Caliber is not really taking too much of the bait. He loses a couple of the Stalkers to the Liberators. It's a lot of very, very control-intensive army for both these players, but the Void Rays are now starting to come out. We already have one Void Ray done, second Void Ray on the way, and those Void Rays are going to be able to focus fire down those Liberators in absolutely no time. And considering Drunkenboi's army is generally sitting at the bottom of the ramp, not on the ramp, not up the ramp, at the bottom of the ramp, behind the Liberators, yeah, what's going to protect these Liberators from the Void Ray if it starts coming forward? Immediately, those Liberators have to scoot on further back, and guess what? Caliber has gained himself a little bit more ground. Disruptor shots also going to be able to get some pretty good hits off, killing off a lot of the Bioforce. And this army for Caliber is just getting scarier and scarier. Big Widow Mine hit going off, softening up a decent chunk of this Gateway Force. But I mean, the Bioforce just isn't there for Drunkenboi anymore. He's getting up a fourth expansion, and he is maintaining this position, but I just don't really see a lot of sustainability in the push-in. The army value is just so much better right now for Caliber. It's not necessarily when I talk about the exact numbers, because yeah, Drunkenboi is only about 5 to 10 army supply down. That's not the biggest deal. It's just the quality of these units. Oh, big disruptor, or big Widow Mine hits going off once again, killing off a lot more Stalkers over there. And these Liberators also getting some decent shots off on these Stalkers. But loses both of the Liberators. Caliber not having as scary of an army as he did a little while ago, but he's going to be getting up those Tempests now in conjunction with those Void Rays, and he's kept a decent chunk, or he's kept at least some of the Disruptors alive. I guess he did end up losing quite a few of the Disruptors. So maybe Drunkenboi with just the superior economy is still going to be able to make this work. He even has a Marine position over here to make sure that fourth expansion hasn't been taken. This army is just trying to build up to be as big as it possibly can. And we're setting out 150 supply for both of these players. Looking for an opportunity. I do feel like Caliber's position may just be to try and sit back, max out, get good upgrades, as they are sitting even on upgrades right now. But just wait until the super late game and just try and take a good engagement with the massive number of Tempests that really do scare quite a few Terran players. But here comes a very, very Drunkenboi thing. A large Doom drop coming in, even mixing in some of those Liberators for that air support. And this could be a very, very scary moment over here for both of these players. If Caliber's out of position, if he's over in the middle of the map, or God forbid on the other side of the map, he could end up losing his third expansion and his fourth expansion. But will Drunkenboi have enough back at home to actually defend? The army is pulling back, scan goes down, Drunkenboi knows where the army is, and he's immediately boosting on over to that third expansion. There are a lot of pylons over here to Foot and Overcharge, and a lot of energy to Foot and Overcharge with. Stalkers can also blink up to the main base if that's where Drunkenboi chooses to go, and it is. Drunkenboi unloads and is going to be able to go straight on top of the Stargates, halt that Tempest production by a little bit, and immediately you end up seeing Drunkenboi trying to charge into the fourth expansion at the same time. But guess what? Caliber's army is not moving. He is basically sacrificing his main base right now because he knows he needs to protect this newly established expansion. And now we end up having Caliber go for the counterattack. He's taking this to a base trade. And granted, he does have an air army. Oh my god, these are the dirtiest Widow Mines ever, just positioned randomly in the middle of the map. Oh, the Disruptor Shot's gonna be able to kill off all of them. That is unfortunate for Drunkenboi. But Cybernetics Core gets taken out, Robotics Bay about to be taken out, immediately the Fleet Beacon, I guess, will be one of the other primary targets to go for. But this is a full-on base trade. Both of these players have anti-air army units. The Tempests are going to ensure that Drunkenboi can't just lift off all of his buildings and hope to take this to a tie game or a advantageous base trade. But Drunkenboi just has such a smaller army, even though it is more nimble. And that does concern me because, yeah, nimble is great, but with the Tempest all over here, can Drunkenboi really take a good engagement? Oh, these SCVs are sitting idle. It would be great if you had that additional worker income or the mineral income. Could maybe establish some new expansions over here in the corner and stuff like that. But looks like he is going to try and throw down a command center over there. He is going to be able to take out another one in the Nexus. Gold expansion going up, and I love the photon cannoning. This is a really, really smart decision because it's just going to buy time. If Drunkenboi ever tries to attack into that, there's no way that he's going to be able to get through all of the photon cannons and then the Nexus before the army has time to respond and show up. But this is the second to last Nexus that's finished up right now. The other Nexus is getting, I guess, halting any sort of mining going on over there. And is going to get taken out very soon as well. Drunkenboi also spots out the gold expansion. He's going to be able to kill off some of the workers over here. There are only 19 workers left over, and looks like Drunkenboi is going straight after the pylons. He's going to be able to depower one of them, and the 3 of the photon cannons are no longer really too useful right now. Stalkers already utilized their blink, so they cannot continue to chase those medevacs, even though they are very low on health. Oh, does manage to get one. But this is a very weird base trade now. The Tempest, this is such an impregnable position if this army is here. But Drunkenboi just has more bases that are mining. And he has better production. The entire tech was reset for Caliber. He's starting back up from Gateway. I'm amazed, actually, he does still have a Dark Shrine going up, which is immeasurably valuable right now. But, oh man, Drunkenboi cannot afford to take head-on engagements right now. The Liberators are in pretty decent numbers, so even though their Stalker count is enough to take them on without the bio support, in fact, he might even be able to just blink directly underneath them, but he doesn't need to. He has the Tempest. He's going to be able to force an Unsiege and immediately go after this. Oh, 1 Marine taking out the pylon. Nicely done, Marine. There's a value Marine. But Drunkenboi's got to get out of here. Liberator is going to end up losing their lives on the retreat, and that was definitely a very costly engagement. Single Observer is left over. Are there even any Widow Mines out? Oh man, 1 Cloak Banshee or something could really make this a very, very different game. Oh, that poor Marine did so well for himself, but does end up getting killed off. 1 Widow Mine is available. It looks like it'll take out the probe, maybe. But I think that Drunkenboi is likely going to end up losing his army over here. I don't really think that Drunkenboi can keep this alive, but he is buying time for himself. He's getting up his buildings. He still has some of that production. He's producing more Marauders and Marines. But now the Stalkers find it. The Stalkers find the production. Drunkenboi now has to do something with the army that he still is alive, and there's not even that many Marines left over. Oh no, the two Void Rays that are in this mix right here are going to be able to easily kill off these 2 Marines. Oh man, if only this is a planetary fortress already, this would be taking a much better engagement. But GG gets called, Drunkenboi taps out, and Caliber takes the game, putting his name on the scoreboard. Weird game, but Caliber taking yet another game with that exact style, and very, very cool. But we're going to hop to a short little break as we get ready to hop into the next game. So I'll see you guys in just a little bit with game number 4. It's still match point for Drunkenboi. Can he close it out in game number 4, or will Caliber make an epic and triumphant comeback to bring it to the ace match? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in game number... Here we go. I remembered to unmute the game volumes, but here we are in game number 4. Still match point, 1 game away from this player down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, the blue Terran player from Flipside Tactics, qualifying for the 2nd day of the qualifying matches, or the qualifiers. Give it up for Drunkenboi, also known as Complexity's Taiga from the past, but now on Flipside Tactics, and also does not go by the name Taiga very often anymore. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the pink Protoss player, building a forge. Give it up for Caliber, who is once again going for the Pylon rush. And this is the moment where Drunkenboi thinks that last game he faked a pylon rush, or faked a cannon rush, and went instead for the Nexus first. So now Drunkenboi is being very slow to react, and he's gonna allow this photon cannon to potentially finish up over here. Oh man, no, actually I don't think he could go for I was thinking if he planted on a pylon over here, it could completely wall this off and prevent the photon cannon from being attacked, but doesn't look like it's gonna happen, and besides, the supply depot was just lower. But it looks like this pylon will be taken out. Another bunker going up once again. This didn't work out so well for Drunkenboi last time, but he was able to make a nice triumphant comeback in that last game. We'll see if he can make it something a little bit cleaner happen in this game. Bunker should be able to go up. The Marine is able to focus fire down one of these photon cannons to prevent one of them from finishing. Maybe two of them, but definitely not three of them. Another one of the photon cannon finishes, and it's going to be in range of the barracks. A factory is going up. This is going to be different from the last time. Factory going up. It's not going to be able to get out a siege tank unless it takes all the time it takes to get out a tech lab. But maybe, I don't even know what would you make from this. He's going to make a tech lab. He's going to try and buy enough time for it. I don't think the photon cannons are quite in range of the command center. Oh, this one might be. Is it? It's the barracks is floating away. It is in range of the command center. He's gonna have to spend a little bit of resources repairing that. This Marine has a very, very important job to zone out any probes that try and build any more cannons that are in range of this. But overall, I think that Drunkenboi hasn't taken too many substantial losses. He lost one Marine, he lost two workers, but overall, his tech is there. He's getting up another barracks, because he did end up losing the first barracks thanks to it burning down from the photon cannon damage. But the command center just has to make sure he repairs it up. Maybe with like 2 SCVs would be enough to repair it up. And guess what? The siege tank will be able to eventually clean up that one pylon. Once the pylon's taken out, everything will be taken care of. Another probe is coming to the mix though, and that could cause a few problems. Looks like Drunkenboi is not going to go after the pylon. He's going to go after the photon cannon first. Kind of interesting decision. I guess he wants to make sure that he's just not getting sieged up by this photon cannon constantly. He has to spend resources and time on those SCVs where they could be mining instead repairing. Now he's going to go after those photon cannons. Looks like Caliber also was sending that probe across the map, looking to try and maybe plant down some more. If he had just planted down additional pylons, that could have caused some problems if he had taken the approach that I was suggesting. So well done by Drunkenboi, probably anticipating things a little bit better. Another siege tank is going to be coming out, and man, I'm just thinking if there was a really fast starport, what kinds of, a really fast starport coming out. Maybe? No? Looks like Drunkenboi reconsidering. I was thinking, you know, if he goes to the starport, he could use a tank evac and just maneuver around so easily, but looks like he is going to eventually just get up a command center instead. So he decides, you know what, let's go for the natural command center. I want to get that up before I worry about getting up my additional tech. 2 siege tanks is going to be more than enough to deal quite a bit of damage against any attacks that I face off against. And I need to make sure that, I'm sure my opponent tried to go for a fairly fast natural expansion, which is absolutely what happened. Caliber tried to transition out very quickly, and that is sort of the name of Caliber's play style, I would say. Stylistically, he loves to go for the fast tech, or he likes to go for the heavy aggressive play and immediately go in the absolute opposite direction with crazy economic greed. And look at this economic greed going straight into a fleet beacon. And not just economic greed, but just tech greed, just greed in general. He is all about the greed after over aggression. SCV is going to make its way into the main base, doesn't really get a scout out on too much, sees the natural expansions done, sees that there was a stalker and a militia core made, so he knows at least that any kind of attempts at heavy bits of aggression are potentially going to be running into some trouble. But interested to see where things are going to go from here. Drunkenboi finishing up that natural expansion. He still has those 2 siege tanks out, but he transferred over the tech lab to the barracks. Going to be able to get up stim, going to be able to get up some widow mines, and the widow mine drop could be pretty effective over here. There's no oracle that was made, and of course you also have to note that there's no robotics facility. So there's going to be absolutely 0 forms of detection, and unlike some of the previous games, he's not going to be able to utilize blink stalkers to trigger off those widow mines and avoid the damage. He is going to end up taking damage if he is not careful about the placement. The unfortunate side of things for Drunkenboi is that he doesn't have much anti-air to deal with something like a Tempest. He has the reactor, or sorry, a tech lab. A tech lab is being built right now. I mean, a Raven being made could definitely help out with point defense drone versus the Tempest shots, but I just don't know if this is going to work out super well. For Drunkenboi, is he going to be able to deal with this? One Tempest just sieged up behind this mineral line is going to be nigh impossible to kill off. Drunkenboi is so in the dark right now about exactly what Caliber is up to. Caliber is just the king of shenanigans, the master of madness. And I feel like once we have no more Tempest being made. I was gonna say once we have a second or third Tempest pop out, he may just try and move in over here and try one-shot SCVs, because one Tempest won't one-shot an SCV. Two of them, that's 30 damage each, and that's gonna be more than enough to one-shot them. Drunkenboi gonna be maneuvering around though, and there might be a potential opportunity. I guess Caliber may just be concerned that if there was like a couple of Vikings made or something, that there would be an opportunity for that Tempest to be picked off. There could be some problems over there, but I don't know. For some reason, Caliber definitely going to be a bit more resistant. He doesn't necessarily have the vision that we do. Even though he did a lot of damage earlier on, this is his vision. He's seen maybe a couple of the units, but not really a whole lot more. Observer is being made for Caliber, so he is transitioning this out. This Tempest almost acting as, I guess, like a safety Tempest. It's like the long-range photon cannon that will try and pick away at medevacs as they swing on by. A second Tempest is finally being made right now. Observer is making its way across the map, and Drunkenboi is very much onto the shenanigans. Look at this. He's trying to get a really nice spread of coverage with the these two Zelnai watchtowers. He's got a Widowmine burrowed over the third. He's got a Marine placed here. He even had vision over here for a little bit. He is just being so unbelievably prepared for more shenanigans, hidden expansions, maybe some sort of proxy going on, like a proxy gateway coming out, maybe even preparing for a very roundabout attack path. He is just not taking any chances. I think that's the way you have to play versus Caliber. You have to play it out, not necessarily just safe, but you have to constantly be looking for information. That is the most important thing about playing versus Caliber. You have to have the information so you can make the right judgment calls on a moment's notice. Twilight Council goes up for Caliber, and he is definitely starting to try and play this out a little bit more on the greedy side, getting up, you know, he has a Stargate, a Robo, and a Twilight Council. And even has that fleet beacon done. Gonna get up resonating glaives. Interesting. So I wonder if he's gonna try and make this into a Tempest Adept push. It's certainly something that I haven't really seen a whole lot of, but I could see it working out. The Tempests are going to be able to deal with a lot of the siege tech units, like the siege tanks, the liberators that could potentially be coming out, even taking out maybe Widowmines from a bit of a distance if he has the detection for them. Whereas the Adepts are going to be able to very easily deal with Marines and tank a lot of shots from Marauders. They're very beefy units. They can handle most of the Bioforces, and also will have that DPS that they need to take out units and act as the buffer for the Tempest. So this could be a really good composition. Even going to be able to get up at Templar Archives, maybe to add on some Archons, or maybe it's just going to be for the eventual Storm. He does like to tech up quite a bit. There's one thing you can say about Caliber after he's gotten past his, you know, his photon cannon openings. More gateways being added on over here. Psystorm is immediately being researched, so he's not just going to be relying on some Archons. And I really do feel like Caliber is one of the players that's a lot like me. He's going to try and play this out greedier. He's not going to make any Archons whatsoever. A lot of Protoss players will be like, you know, I want to maybe make some safety Archons with my first two High Templar. I can warp in some more High Templar later, but Caliber strikes me as the kind of player who will say, like, no, I'm going to just purely focus all of my gas now on warping in High Templar, and I'm going to have, like, 8 storms. I'm not going to worry about having, like, 2-3 storms. I'm going to have, like, 8 to 10 storms. I'm going to make my opponent's life living hell to try and deal with. But right before Storm is finishing up, Drunkenboi is making a move across the map. I think that Storm will be finishing up possibly during the engagement or right before the engagement, depending on how soon Drunkenboi is able to push in over here. Tempest revealing themselves, and a big scan goes down. He sees the army. Does he notice High Templar? I'm sure he does now, as they are positioned outside, no longer just underneath the Tempest. Siege tanks are siege up in a nice position, getting some great shots off on those Adepts. And this is just such a large force for Drunkenboi. Storm is about to finish up, but it's not going to be coming in time to save the third expansion. A single Viking, being the most ballsy Viking ever, gets taken out very, very quickly. The army is still very scary over here for Caliber, but Drunkenboi siphons off just a couple of units and focus fires down some of the Tempest. But here we go, Caliber lifting up some of the units. He keeps one of the not the Tempest, the High Templar. He keeps one of them alive and lifting up into the War Prism, as well as one of the high energy sentries. But Drunkenboi takes out the third. He even plants down another Widow Mine over there. Does the Observer survive? Observer does survive, so he can take those out very, very quickly. But Drunkenboi takes an economic lead and a massive supply advantage. He's also going to be taking a nice little lead in the upgrades pretty soon, which he was behind in for a small period of time. But Drunkenboi now knows the tech that he's up against. He has denied the economy. He's been able to not necessarily take out a lot of the tech units, but he's been able to take out some of those High Templar. I mean, killing off 2 of them is a pretty big deal. There are still a few High Templar left over, a pretty decent number, in fact. And oh no, losing 2 of the Siege Tanks, that does sting because those Siege Tanks were invaluable versus the massive Adept army. They just did so much splash damage to them. I like the fact that he's building up a missile turret over here. It's probably going to get taken out by the Tempest, but it does force Caliber to control his Observer a little bit better. Make sure that it is not just going to immediately gun its way straight in. Oh, Vikings looking maybe for that Observer. He gets 1 shot off on the Observer. Doesn't quite make it work out, though. Another drop happening on the other side of the map. This is a very, very immobile army from Caliber right now. There's no way he's going to be able to get back home in time to defend, and I don't think he can just rely on Warpins right now. He's pretty much all in at this point, but this is an army made to slowly push in. Tempests are the gradual damage of the Protoss army, not the massive busting at the front damage. Adept is trying to start off some of these Widow Mines. He's trying his best to try and make this push happen as soon as possible, but he's already lost his natural expansion. He's basically not mining anymore, and here we go. Drunkenboi's pulling the boys. He's moving in. Big storms going down on top of all the Vikings, and it's working out quite well for him. I think he's going to end up winning this engagement just barely by the skin of his teeth. The Tempest may end up winning the engagement, but can he deal with the additional rounds of reinforcements that come out from production? Can he deal with the fact that he's in a base trade versus a Terran player? Oh man, where was this Mothership Core earlier to throw down Fortune Overcharges and buy time? He's not going to have it anymore. A lot of probes are in the mix, at least, so Caliber has enough minerals to plant down a new Nexus. Man, I wish that these SCVs were fighting, because any probes that they killed would be a huge, huge blow right now to Caliber. And I feel like Drunkenboi, he's still got that 3rd expansion. Oh, it was kind of mining. It's not mining anymore. And he's lost almost every single SCV. Oh no, Drunkenboi, he's not going to have an economy anymore. And with all of its production now being camped, he tried to make a couple of these Vikings, but Vikings are going to be outranged by the Tempest. And 5 Tempests versus 4 Vikings, I know who wins that fight, even 6 Vikings. This is a straight up base trade. He's going to be able to try and take out at least some of the production, the tech. I think he took out the Cyberdetics core, which is going to be a pretty big blow. Depowering the Stargate, doesn't matter if the fleet beacon's over there. I guess the pylon, the 1 probe is still alive though, so that could still cause some problems. Drunkenboi, is there a way that you can win this? I'm not sure. He's still mining with some mules over here. He's got a couple of Marines. He can gather up his forces and try and take on a head-on engagement. And I think he may be able to win it, but he needs to get directly underneath these Tempests. That is going to be so ridiculously important. And there's this 1 sentry, that 1 sentry he saved earlier on with the beautiful, I guess, War Prism pickup. That's actually going to be playing a pretty pivotal role over here, because Force Fields may be a really important part of this. He does Force Field out a good chunk of this army, buying his Tempest a little bit more time, making it a lot harder to get underneath them. Vikings are focus firing down the Tempest, and it looks like Drunkenboi may have enough. The Tempests are getting focus fired down very quickly by the Vikings. GG gets called. Drunkenboi is going to win the game. 3-1, takes the series, and is advancing on to the 2nd day of the qualifiers. At the beginning of that series, I said something. I said that whenever I look at a Drunkenboi series, I know that it's going to be an entertaining series. And while, of course, I want to give Drunkenboi quite a bit of credit for how entertaining and fun that series was, I also want to give a lot of props to Caliber. He showed us some stuff that you just don't see. The balls on Caliber are so enormous. I don't think day 2 could have held them. So big congratulations to Drunkenboi and a well played to Caliber. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, big congratulations again to Drunkenboi, who moves on to the 2nd day. And I want to note that I think that there are still 1 or 2 of the qualifying matches that are happening right now. I'm going to try and find whichever matches that are still going on that we can hop into. We're going to go to a short little break. and find those matches. So we'll be back in a little bit. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We are not done just yet. You guys are watching BaseTradeTV coverage for the WCS Summer Circuit Championship Series qualifiers for the North American server. That's a mouthful.